When you start trusting yourself, your life is never the same again. It's as if a switch flips inside you. Your eyes project confidence, your voice becomes steadier, and your presence changes the entire atmosphere. Suddenly, you move with such conviction that the world has no choice but to respond, and the people watching you think it's luck or some kind of magic. But it's neither. It's self-confidence. And when it finally awakens, it almost feels unfair. You know how to handle problems, you face life's storms head-on, and you achieve your goals with such unwavering clarity that people begin to wonder, how did he do it? Where did he find that strength? Just yesterday, he seemed so lost. The truth is that strength was inside you all along. It was simply asleep. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes in. The Stoics trained the mind not to become a prisoner of doubt, but to grow stronger every single day. Because confidence isn't a gift, it isn't a miracle, and it isn't luck. It's discipline, it's practice, it's the decision to become stronger than your fear. And that's exactly what you're going to learn here. How to eliminate self-doubt, rebuild your confidence, and leave this video truly believing that you're capable of living the life you've always dreamed of. Before we begin, I have two quick favors to ask. Give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so this message can reach others who also need to take action. Now let's get started with the very first step. Step 1. The Stoic key to turning fear into real confidence. A lack of confidence almost never starts out big. Sometimes it begins with a criticism that echoes in your mind for too long, a mistake you couldn't let go of, or an unfair comparison that stayed with you. Little by little, those fragments become an invisible wall, and you start believing you're simply not capable. And when that happens, your mind begins to distort the future. You look ahead and see nothing new. You can't see possibilities. You can't find a way forward. It feels like everything has already been decided, that you'll stay trapped in the same mistakes, repeating the same defeats, carrying around the same feeling of helplessness. That's the greatest poison of low confidence. It doesn't just steal your strength in the present, it also blocks your ability to imagine a different future. But the root of the problem isn't what happened, it's where you choose to place your focus. The more attention you give to what you can't control, other people's opinions, their approval, their judgments, the farther you drift from your own strength. The Stoics already understood this. Epictetus said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. What truly weakens you isn't failure itself, it's the story you keep telling yourself about it." And that's the key. Even if no one gives you confidence, you can build it yourself. It doesn't depend on applause or approval, it depends on actions that are completely within your control. You can start small, study harder than everyone else, train beyond what's expected, dedicate more time to something that will make you stronger. Small choices, made consistently, that become your first real victory. And that victory changes everything. Because confidence isn't born from a miracle, it's built from the proof you give yourself. One result, no matter how small it seems, creates powerful momentum. That momentum creates movement, creates energy, creates a new story. And when you keep that cycle going, victory after victory, you become unshakable. Remember this, you don't need 100 victories to begin. You only need one, just one. One victory is enough to ignite the flame of confidence, and the secret is protecting that fire, feeding it every single day, because that's where the strength that transforms your life is born. Leave a fire emoji in the comments as a symbol of the confidence you've decided to fuel starting today. Step 2. Train your competence and your sense of worthiness. Self-confidence rests on two fundamental pillars: feeling competent and feeling worthy. You believe in yourself when you can honestly say, "I know how to do this." And you also believe in yourself when you feel, "I've worked hard enough to deserve this result." But what destroys those pillars isn't just a mistake, it's the meaning you assign to it. Imagine this. You greet someone on the street, they don't respond, and within seconds your mind starts racing. What's wrong with me? Am I not good enough? The problem wasn't the moment itself, it was the story you told yourself about it. The same thing happens in bigger situations, like giving a presentation at work. You freeze, forget part of what you wanted to say. You feel like you didn't do well. Instead of looking at it clearly, I didn't prepare enough. This topic doesn't inspire me, or today just wasn't my best day, you jump to, I don't have what it takes. I'm not capable. I'm not cut out for this. And when that conclusion is repeated over time, it stops being just another thought and starts becoming your identity. It's as if you're putting together the puzzle of your self-confidence using only the broken pieces. Every rejection, every criticism, every misunderstood mistake becomes another piece locked into place. And after years of repeating that pattern, the picture staring back at you is distorted, incomplete, built entirely from your failures. Science supports this process. Harvard professor Jerome Kagan showed that children are naturally outgoing. Insecurity develops through painful experiences, rejection, and inaccurate interpretations. To protect you, your brain stores those memories and creates an automatic defense mechanism, fearful thoughts. This is going to go wrong. You're going to fail. Better not even try. Not because you're incapable, but because your mind has learned to associate action with danger. It's like being trapped inside a prison cell with no bars. Nothing is actually stopping you from walking out, except the fear you've learned to obey. The Stoics warned about this long ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Self-confidence isn't lost because of what happens to you. It's lost because of the conclusions you draw from what happens. This is one of the greatest principles of Stoicism, the power of judgment. It is your judgment that determines whether an experience becomes a prison or a lesson. The exact same event can be seen as a humiliating failure or as a valuable lesson, and the difference isn't what happened, it's the lens you chose to look through. If your mind is a maze where every sign points toward failure, you could have the exit right in front of you and still never see it. When you make a mistake and tell yourself, "I'm not cut out for this," your judgment becomes your prison. But when you say, "That was hard, but I can improve," your judgment sets you free. It's the very same event, told through a different story. And this is exactly where you need to act. Stop accepting the story that makes you feel small. Choose to rebuild your confidence on the truth. Mistakes are not proof that you're incapable. They're stepping stones to growth. Competence is earned through practice. Worthiness is earned through effort. And both are completely within your control. Write this in the comments. Today, I choose to become worthy. Because every time you change your judgment, you reclaim another piece of your strength. Step 3. Rebuild your beliefs. Sometimes your greatest enemy is not out in the world, but inside your own mind. It's that voice that shows up when you make a mistake, get rejected, or fail at something important and whispers, "You're not good enough. You're never going to make it." That voice sounds convincing, but it isn't reality. It's only a distorted reflection, a lie that has been repeated so many times that it feels true. Think of it like an overly sensitive smoke alarm. It goes off even when there's no real danger. You make one mistake and your mind sounds the alarm. Don't try again. You get rejected and the alarm goes off. You'd better not put yourself out there anymore. Its intention is to protect you, but its effect is to trap you. Your brain isn't concerned with making you happy, it's concerned with keeping you safe. And when it associates pain with an action, it creates a defense mechanism called a limiting belief. A limiting belief is like an invisible chain. You can still move, but you'll never get very far. And the cruelest part is that this chain wasn't created by the facts themselves, but by the meaning you gave them. Think about it. Stumbling during a presentation doesn't mean I'm not cut out for public speaking. It simply means I need to prepare better. A relationship that ended doesn't mean no one will ever love me. It means this experience showed me what I need to learn in order to love in a healthier, more mature way. The pain isn't in what happened, it's in the label you attach to it. That's the key. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, our life is what our thoughts make it. The critical voice that tears you down isn't reality. It's simply a thought you've repeated so many times that you've started to believe it. The process of breaking free from it is simple, but powerful. First, identify the emotion. Ask yourself, what exactly is this situation bringing up in me? Fear of rejection, shame about failing, anger over not being in control. Naming the emotion is like turning on the light in a dark room. Suddenly, you can see what has been controlling you without you even realizing it. Second, identify the source. When was the first time you felt this way? Maybe it was in childhood when someone humiliated you. Maybe it was after a failure that left a deep mark. That memory doesn't define who you are today, but until you acknowledge it, it will continue to guide your steps in silence. Third, reinterpret it. Every mistake can be told in two ways, as a life sentence or as a lesson. If you failed in front of other people, it doesn't mean I'm not cut out for this. It simply means I need to prepare better, or this experience showed me something I need to improve. Reality doesn't change, but the story you tell yourself changes everything. Fourth, transform it. Pain carries energy, and that energy can either crush you or drive you forward. Instead of using failure as a punishment, turn it into fuel. Tell yourself, this made me stronger. This trained me. This prepared me for the next challenge. It's like taking a brick that used to be part of a prison and placing it into the foundation of your fortress. It's like turning a scar into armor. What once filled you with shame now becomes the mark of your resilience. And in the end, it all comes down to this. What story do you choose to tell yourself? That story can be a prison, or it can be a springboard. It can break you, or it can forge you. The choice is yours. Leave a key in the comments as a reminder that today you unlock the door your old beliefs had kept closed. Step 4. When you let go of the outcome, life begins to flow. The greatest enemy of your success isn't failure, it's your attachment to the outcome. From an early age, we've been taught to measure our worth by what we achieve instead of by what we learn. A bad grade was never just, I got a few answers wrong. It became, I'm bad at math. A rejection was never simply, the other person wasn't available. It became, I'm not worthy. That distortion follows us throughout life. You dedicate yourself to a project, but if you freeze up at one point, you conclude, I'm not cut out for this. You go talk to someone, and if you hear no, you immediately think, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. The pain doesn't come from the event itself, but from the weight you place on the outcome. But confidence isn't built on isolated successes. It's built through consistent repetition. Do you get nervous about brushing your teeth? Of course not. Why? Because you've done it thousands of times. It's repeated practice day after day that creates unshakable confidence. And the same is true in every area of your life. When you let go of your attachment to the outcome and focus on the discipline of repetition, everything changes. It's no longer about thinking, I need this to work so I can prove my worth. It's about deciding, I'm going to keep showing up until I become strong, until I become capable. At that point, control no longer depends on chance. It rests in your own hands, in the hours you spend studying, in every training session you complete, in the conversations you choose to have, in the pages you read, in the actions you practice. And this is where true freedom begins, acting for the sake of acting, serving for the sake of serving, creating for the joy of creating, without waiting for applause, grades, or approval. As the Bhagavad Gita says, you have the right to your actions, but never to the fruits of those actions. True confidence is born when you find peace in the process, not in the reward. Think about it. If your success were measured not by applause, but by the number of steps you've taken toward what truly matters, you would never again become a slave to the outcome. You would be free to grow, free to act, free to become the person you want to be. Start changing that perspective in your mind. Trust the process, not the outcome, because every time you let go of your attachment to the results, you gain the strength to move forward with clarity and freedom. Step 5. Change the way you see yourself. The way you see yourself determines how far you can go. That's your self-concept, the idea you have about yourself, shaped by your values, the decisions you make, and the inner dialogue you repeat every single day. And the most dangerous part is that if you don't clearly define who you want to become, your environment will define it for you. Think of your self-concept as a sacred contract you make with yourself, a non-negotiable agreement that says, these are the actions I'm going to take every single day because they are part of who I am. It doesn't matter how tired you are, it doesn't matter what other people think, if it's in the contract you follow through. That commitment is what builds real confidence. When your thoughts, your words, and your actions are aligned, you can finally say, I trust myself. Because one of the greatest sources of insecurity isn't failure, it's inconsistency. Feeling one thing, promising another, and acting in the opposite way. That internal crack erodes your self-esteem faster than any criticism from the outside ever could. Psychology calls this cognitive dissonance, and it's one of the biggest thieves of self-confidence. That's why confidence isn't built through inspiring words, it's built through consistent actions. You don't have to wait until you feel motivated to act. You have to act to create motivation. Imagine this, you wake up exhausted, with no energy, no drive, and no desire to do anything. If you sit there waiting for motivation to show up, you'll spend the entire day stuck. But if you choose to act like the person you want to become, you get up, complete a task, honor the contract you've made with yourself, something inside you changes. Your energy begins to rise, your confidence grows, and your mind learns, I can count on myself. That's the power of self-concept. You don't have to prove anything to the world. You have to prove to yourself that you're faithful to the person you've decided to become. And if this lesson spoke to you, leave a comment saying, my contract is with myself. Because every time you act in alignment with your identity, you strengthen a confidence that no one else can shake. Step 6. Become what you do. You don't wait to become someone before you act. You act in order to become that person. That's the principle that turns dreams into reality. First you do, then you become. The trap most people fall into is believing the opposite. Once I have more confidence, then I'll take action. Once I'm successful, then I'll start acting like a successful person. But life doesn't work that way. If you wait until you have everything before you begin, you'll never begin. The order is different. You act, you persist, you show up, and then your identity catches up. That's why every single day ask yourself the most important question. Is this action, this thought, this decision aligned with the person I want to become? If the answer is yes, you're moving in the right direction. If the answer is no, adjust immediately, because every action you take is another brick in the construction of your ideal self. The Bible teaches this principle with remarkable clarity. In Matthew, it is written, to everyone who has, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what they have will be taken away. This isn't only a lesson about material possessions. It's a universal principle about motion and inertia. Those who are already taking action find even more strength to keep moving. Those who have already developed discipline discover even more opportunities to grow. Those who put themselves in motion attract even more momentum. On the other hand, those who hide, those who stay trapped by fear, those who wait for the perfect moment to begin, eventually lose even the little they had, because inertia slowly destroys everything. It's like a muscle. If you use it, it grows stronger. If you leave it unused, it becomes weaker. Life works exactly the same way. The little you do when repeated consistently multiplies. What you neglect fades away. That's the secret. Don't wait for confidence before you act. Act to build confidence. Don't wait for motivation before you begin. Begin to awaken motivation. Action is the seed, and every time you plant it, life responds. For the Stoics, no one is born fully formed. What gives your life direction is having absolute clarity about the person you want to become. It's not about imagining a perfect version of yourself. It's about having a standard of character, courage, discipline, and integrity that serves as your compass, guiding every choice and every action. That's why identity doesn't come before action. It is born from action. You behave like the person you want to become, and little by little you become that person, because in the end, it isn't waiting that transforms you. It's practice. The future you dream about doesn't begin tomorrow. It has already begun through the way you choose to act today. Step 7. Train your mind to live with discipline. How many times have you promised yourself you would change, start training, study, stop procrastinating, only to give up a few days later? That's one of the deepest pains a person can experience, realizing you can no longer trust your own word. Every time that happens, your mind records the same message. I don't keep the promises I make to myself. And when that message repeats often enough, self-confidence begins to collapse. Discipline is the way back. Think of it as a bank account of trust. Every promise you keep is a deposit. Every excuse is a withdrawal. When your balance is low, you hesitate. You sabotage yourself. You doubt yourself. When your balance is high, you move forward with confidence because you have evidence, not just hope. A river doesn't cut through rock because it's powerful. It cuts through rock because it never stops flowing. Discipline works the same way. Small actions, repeated every single day, create a path where one once seemed impossible. It's not about dramatic moments, it's about consistency. It's not luck, it's direction. For the Stoics, this had a name: self-mastery. Self-respect isn't built through motivational quotes. It's built by doing what's right, especially when giving in would be easier. The confidence you're looking for isn't the cause of discipline, it's the result of it. Every time you honor the commitments you've made, your mind learns, I can count on myself. That's why Marcus Aurelius said, people without discipline have neither respect nor love for themselves because they accept living beneath what they are capable of becoming. Think about someone with extraordinary talent, someone who could reach incredible heights, but who never sustains the dedication required. They start every project full of enthusiasm, only to quit at the first obstacle. They make ambitious plans, but trade commitment for easy distractions. The result? What could have become something great ends up becoming just another broken promise. It's like living off withdrawals without ever making deposits. Sooner or later, the balance reaches zero, and with it your self-confidence disappears. And the cruelest part is that it isn't the world holding that person back, it's themselves. A lack of discipline steals not only external achievements, but also inner respect, the certainty that they could have become more. That's how silent self-contempt begins, not because you lack talent, but because you lack consistency. Without discipline, you sabotage yourself and diminish your own potential. But every time you honor your commitment, even when no one is watching, you make another deposit into your bank of confidence. Little by little, the balance grows, and along with it, the certainty that you are capable of sustaining any goal you choose. Discipline isn't punishment, It's the greatest act of respect for the person you've decided to become. And the more you honor that commitment, the less the world can intimidate you, because deep inside, you have become unshakable. In the end, confidence doesn't create discipline. Discipline creates confidence. Step 8. Work on yourself to rise above the ordinary. The most dangerous weakness is not the one you face from the outside, but the one you feed from within: complacency. It doesn't shout, it doesn't frighten you, but it quietly steals your strength day after day, until one day you wake up realizing you haven't lived even half the life you were capable of. Mediocrity is subtle. It disguises itself as routine, as comfort, as seemingly harmless excuses. You don't notice when it begins, but before long, you're trapped in the same cycle, repeating the same days, convincing yourself that this is just normal. It's like a stagnant pond, at first glance peaceful, but underneath collecting sludge and slowly losing life. The longer the water stands still, the harder it becomes to see beyond the surface. And maybe you've already felt that weight, the discomfort of knowing you could become more, but you keep finding yourself stuck in the same place. Every time you accept living below your potential, you reinforce that invisible prison. Think about a bird that was born inside a cage. It has never known any horizon beyond the bars, and when the cage door is finally opened, it hesitates to fly. Not because it can't, but because its mind has grown used to the limits. That's how so many people live, trapped inside small patterns that exist only because they never dared to act with confidence. The Stoics reminded us that excellence is not a gift, but a practice. It isn't about waiting for the world to push you toward change. It's about making the radical decision to stop living on autopilot. So, if you feel mediocrity surrounding you, ask yourself one simple question: what area of my life have I become comfortable in? Maybe it's at work, doing only enough to avoid criticism. Maybe it's your health, putting off the changes you already know you need to make. Maybe it's your mindset, repeating the same old thoughts that keep leading you nowhere. The way out is not to wait for some great burst of inspiration, but to act now. Small choices are powerful enough to break the cycle. 5 minutes of exercise when your mind tells you to rest. Finishing that task you've been putting off for months. Making the decision you've known you can no longer avoid. Mediocrity survives only where there is complacency. And confidence is not born from comfort, it is born from movement. The time to break away from the ordinary isn't tomorrow, it's today. Write this in the comments. Today, I eliminate mediocrity from my life. Because living in weakness is choosing to remain small. But taking action, even through small steps, is choosing to leave the cage behind, cross the stagnant pond, and regain the confidence of someone who has decided never again to settle for less than they can become. Step 9. Stop suppressing your true potential. Your greatest weakness is not the fear of failure, it's continuing to hide the strength you already possess. How many times have you held back an idea, stayed silent, or refused to act because you believed you weren't capable? That constant silence slowly shrinks your life and along with it, your confidence. But understand this, everything you need to begin already exists within you. The problem is that you've become so used to looking only at your flaws that you've forgotten to look at the strengths you already carry. It's like someone sitting on top of a toolbox full of tools, complaining they have no way to build anything. Your potential doesn't suddenly appear, it is unlocked when you take action. Every time you face a challenge, every time you take a step despite your fear, you awaken something that has been sleeping inside you. That's how confidence is built. Not by waiting until you feel secure, but by taking action and proving to yourself that you can do it. The Stoics understood this. They were not defined by the positions they held, but by the courage to remain faithful to their virtues through hardship. Their confidence wasn't an inheritance, it was the result of training. And the same is true for you. It isn't destiny that decides who you become. It's the choices you continue making every single day. Think about it. If you spent your life hiding the very best within you, what could happen once you finally let that strength come out? Imagine the life you could build when you stop asking for permission and start leading yourself with confidence and authority. It doesn't matter how long you've spent doubting yourself. One firm decision is enough to change your direction. What once looked like weakness can become strength. What once looked like a limitation can become your starting point. Self-confidence isn't about waiting for the world to believe in you. It's about becoming living proof of your own strength. And if this message spoke to you, write this in the comments. Today, I unleash my true potential. Because the worst prison is shrinking yourself before life, settling for crumbs when there's an entire universe of possibilities already within you. And true freedom is lifting your head high, acting like someone who was born for greatness, and proving to yourself that nothing has the power to limit you. The Stoic house preserves timeless wisdom for those facing modern battles. If this video made you stronger, support the channel by giving it a like, share that strength with someone who needs it, and subscribe so we can continue this journey together. Thank you for watching.